Merry Meet, Annie here. This video is about the season of Imbolc, how one witch experiences it. I wanted to share what the season is to me. I was thinking, now that it's upon us, I wanted to do something for YouTube, truly come each holiday and each turning of the wheel, and then what would that be? We can all collect rituals and ideas and seasonally specific spell work by watching many wonderful YouTube videos, letting others inspire us, reading books, by participating with others when we have the opportunity to. And I'm thinking, then what would I bring that wouldn't be more of that? Because there's a lot of really good that already out there. And I thought, the only thing that I can offer that's unique is, what is it to me? As every one of you could offer to me, what is it to you? It may not even be for you. I know that in this interesting pagan community we share that we don't all even celebrate these holidays. Now, I celebrate the holidays because I am a traditional Wiccan, and the 8 holidays of the wheel are very important to me. And if you watch my introductory video on how I relate to the Sabbats, actually the 4 cross-quarter days are the most important of holidays to me. And I came up with them as, I truly anticipate them in the sense of I will know come Imbolc that something is done and something is begun. As that has happened every year as it happens at Samhain for me, as it will happen at Beltane and again at Lunasa. Something is done and something begun. Because I make it so, but also because I think when you are that intimately in tune with the seasonal flow, it just happens. You don't make it happen anymore, it just happens. I have to feel different when the days are getting longer, and I have to feel different when my relationship to my God and my goddess are shifting because they have moved and transformed and become something different from what they were at Yule. So my intention here is nothing more than to share what the tide of Imbolc feels like to me. I mentioned in my Yule video that Yule was my very favorite holiday, and I would probably say that same thing again come Imbolc. And that's how the flow goes, because Imbolc is my most favorite holiday. And I'll say that again come Beltane, and I'll say that again come Ostara, no doubt. I thought I'd read, that's why I have my glasses on, so forgive any odd reflections off the glasses. I don't wear them when I'm videotaping because I don't like trying to figure out angles for reflections, so you may be zapped with light as I am wearing my glasses because I had some things I wanted to read to you. It's not surprising that some of the things that I was moved to share with you at the season of Imbolc would be readings I've collected or written over the years, because it is the season of inspiration and fire in the head and the sense of learning and poetry and storytelling, and it's the tide, it's what it brings up in you. And I was moved to share some writing that actually gives you an idea what the season means to me. Now the season to me, it could be at the simplest level, planting a seed. But there's nothing simple about the act of planting a seed. You know, it has become very popular in pagan ritual that Imbolc is a time for planting a seed, and that ritual repeats itself in every book we read, or most books that we read, and it repeats itself in gatherings, and especially kind of pagan light gatherings. And it's a commonality that we all understand is putting that seed in the dirt, experiencing that. But then it becomes, what does that mean on a deeper level? What does it mean to be the seed? I've given up the idea of, except for working with children, as planting seeds as part of my personal Imbolc celebration, although I will, in the days in which I gardened, my seed packets for the year always lay next to my candles for the year as I blessed them for the season in that turning of the season. But the power of the symbol of the seed at this time of year is, do you really intimately know what it is like to be the seed. And that's where the power of the symbolism comes into it. Something is becoming. Something is beginning. Something's coming out of something else. You know, something gives life to something. Something gives life to everything. We don't come from nothing. We come from something. The last turning of the season to me, from Samhain on, was the foundation in the way I look at the shifting of the seasons. And now we've come from foundation into individuation. That is my word for this next turning of the season. Let me read something to you that I wrote, I guess maybe it's been almost 20 years ago. One of my earlier experiences online was in a pagan newsletter, e-zine, and I wrote for it for a year. We covered all the turnings of the year. Here's a little bit of what I wrote then, which is still exactly how I feel about the season of Imbolc. She gave birth not only to her Lord, but also to herself. She teaches us that self-awareness is an act of creation, and that we are all capable of that birthing. Our pagan faith reflects the concepts of singularity and totality. The moment of awareness of our divine individuality is for many of us the epiphany in our pagan spirituality. The moment when, as the seed breaks through its protective shell and begins its journey to the sun, we reach in our extraordinary and personal way towards spirit. We acknowledge with joy how much we differ, but also how much we are alike. This is the time to honor what particularly makes us unique. So to me, it's the season of individuation. It is the time of year of becoming. Now we, living a spiritual life in relationship to the teaching of our elders and our gods, and of the beauty of the earth that surrounds us, we can determine our becoming. We are self-determinate. In the foundation season, we have spent a lot of time in quiet and thinking and reading and, in a peaceful way, gone through a period of inaction. We've left behind things that didn't matter anymore, and we've actually come to appreciate the things that matter that much more. There is a winnowing out and a honing down as we enter into the period of foundation, and then a period of living with, understanding it, revisiting it each year. And then we come to Imbolc. And then the call upon us is, and what will we make of it? What will we make of ourselves in this turning of the year? We have the ultimate power, the only power over who we become. But sweet and tender and vulnerable, that rawness, that openness is the place we begin. And it's not an accidental step forward, it is intentional. We decide what we will be in this new turning of the year. One of my favorite poets is David Whyte, and I was inspired by a poem of his to think of this year also as the time of arriving. And I'm going to read that poem for you again in this time of year. It's not unusual to be inspired by words. And you'll hear at the end of this poem how I was inspired to think of Imbolc as a time of arriving. Above the mountains, the geese turn into the light again, painting their black silhouettes on an open sky. Sometimes, everything has to be inscribed across the heavens so you can find the one line already written inside of you. Sometimes it takes a great sky to find that small, bright, and indescribable wedge of freedom in your own heart. Sometimes, with the bones of the black sticks left when the fire has gone out, someone has written something new in the ashes of your life. You are not leaving. You are arriving. I love that imagery. In some ways I think of the foundation time of year from Samhain up until Imbolc as the time where things fall to ashes, and what rises out of them is what was born of them. There's such freedom in this time of year with the question, who am I? Because there's going to be an answer. Because we will make a decision who we are and what we take into the year. Sweet, tender, vulnerable. But out of that, all the possibility that we could possibly want. Now we have to make something of it. We are responsible for making something of it. For making something of ourselves, you could say. One of the most powerful experiences of my life was on Imbolc. Oh, it must have been, I'm going to say, a long time ago. But I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a wonderful winter, midwinter night, and perfectly dry. So the stars were so bright, and I live in a humid area of the country, so they're often very hazy. But that night, because it was winter still and clear and sharp and cold, and I was on my back deck, so there I am, not in the most mystical of natural environments, but with the wide open sky above me. And I looked up, and I just, for a moment, I felt so amazingly lost. It was almost a feeling of panic came over me because it was so vast and it was so huge, and I just remember standing there feeling it was just, I felt like nothing in the midst of this huge, huge vastness. And then I had the thought, because it was Imbolc and I was living the season and I was thinking about who I was, and I had the thought in that moment that amongst all of this, I'm the only me. I am the only me. One of the lessons, perhaps my most important lesson, each turning of Imbolc is, I am unique. At the same time, I am not. I'm part of everything, and I am powerfully, personally me. It's the power of Imbolc for me. At Imbolc, we don't have to know the way forward, but we do if we're living the season, if we're connected to it spiritually, if we're connected to the land. We can feel motion again. We're coming out of the stillness. We're coming out of the solidness and the quietness of earth and air. The season of air is about to be upon us. It's about to kiss us with breezes, and we cannot deny motion. Our lives are set in motion again. We'll decide in this turning of the wheel what to make of it, the specific goals and objectives we are going to go about. But the sweet and tender and vulnerable celebration of Imbolc is about letting it rise up in you, feeling movement again, feeling the power of your own self, knowing that you are precious. There's no one, there's no thing just like you. You are unique in creation. I honor you each for who you are. I don't know anyone else like you. I wish you mirth and reverence. Mary Part.